peace, I tell them good vibes only, yeah. They were hating, but we didn't even notice, cause we're on it.
Welcome to the Gate of God. The time of the global change is at hand. What is the end of the world for some, it's a new world for those who realize it is. To surrender fear into love. What was shall no longer be. What was not can now become. It's the Earth's Processional Cross, where we are now thrusting us to our new future to be. How you guys doing today? My name is Jessica Johnson from Western Michigan, and welcome back to Vibe Talks, where we're going to be talking about the Processional Cross. So why is this so important? What exactly is the Processional Cross? Well, the Processional Cross is basically a cycle where we are currently at now, where things are currently changing around us and within us. With everything I had been discussing, where I have covered various subjects about dimensional consciousness, from the first dimension to the ninth, today we're going to dive deep into something that we're currently experiencing now, the changes that are happening not only internally but globally, and what we can expect from this cycle as we wind up moving forward through this processional experience. Understand this. We are really basically the only species that goes by a linear timeline or goes by a Julius Caesar like calendar, going from month to month, day by day, year by year. A matter of speaking, if we were to say that something happened December 21st to another galactic civilization, they would have no clue what we're even talking about. Galactic entities, they wind up operating in a different way when it comes to time and space, as discussed in my lectures about dimensions. They are not conditioned nor limited by either. They understand things in cycles. The way a galaxy moves through the expanse space in a spiral forward motion. That's right, you heard me correctly. The Milky Way, nor any galaxy for that matter, is stationary. It moves through space, covering thousands of miles, and every hour in that spiral forward motion. They determine cycles by the tilting motions of the planet, or the solar cycles of the sun, or suns in some places. As with anything, what is simple for other intellectual galactic species to understand is oftentimes complicated for most humans to grasp, because we were never taught this. This type of wisdom was hidden from us for so long and only taught to a select few. As human species, we wind up understanding much more than we did, say, 20 years ago. So, allow me to break everything down, to basically understand what all this means, and to simplify what the 270-degree point of the Earth's precessional cycle and why it's particularly important to us to understand it now, how it's profoundly affecting us today, and what to expect going into our future. The Earth's precessional cycle is a sacred geometry of global change. It's a cycle of the Earth's processional cross, an evolutionary cycle of the soul called the Gate of God. When I did a video talking about the fourth dimensional consciousness, I wind up showing you a familiar symbol of the cross in a circle, which anything I do talk about, there is always more to it than the brief perspective I had shared with you when covering the fourth dimension. What you're looking at is the cross in a circle, or even some minor variants of this cardinal symbol, is often depicted in ancient esoteric societies and sacred religion orders of today, or even the tribes and cultures around the globe. This symbol not only represents a fundamental foundation upon which many faiths are built, but it is also made to remind us, especially in the darkness, that something profound is about to occur for the entire earth and her entities. For many, This symbol is a promise of an event leading to a spiritual evolutionary fulfillment of all life. And for others, it is an opportunity, a portal, if you will, to step through, as I had talked about among the Hopi people when discussing the change that is upon us currently. They said it basically in one of their prophecies that there will be a time that will come that humanity will either step through the portal or fall into the hole. They were signaling that there will be a time where humanity will have the biggest decision to make for themselves, that we either evolve or we become lost. If there is anything to understand about the symbol, understand this. The cross in a circle is not only a spiritual symbol, but it is also the astronomical symbol for our planet. The cosmic significance of this symbol is that it marks the timing of a primary transition of turning in the natural evolutionary cycle of Earth. Hidden within this symbol is an astronomical timepiece found in a specific geometric relationship between Earth, the solar system, and our galaxy, an astrophysical event that is occurring now. You see, as the Earth's pole now reorients itself back towards the galactic plane and the Processional Cross becomes active, it marks a time where we wind up returning from that 12,000 year of temporal darkness, from our experience in duality consciousness, from the separation of the fallen feminine and masculine principles to reunification. It's like a reunification of our consciousness. The emergence of the divine feminine and masculine, which is both within all our life, this transition has just begun 2000 AD, and so to return the journey into that unified field of awareness, with the time leading into the 270-degree transitional point in the cycle, creates an inner need to change, and the time to immediately afterwards is one of the initiating change, which we had begun in December 21st of 2012. Nested within the geometry of the rotating astrophysical sphere of the cosmic intelligence, the Earth's precessional cycle governs the evolutionary cycle of the soul, a natural cycle that directs the spiritual unfoldment of Earth's entire soul collective. This winds up occurring in the underlying fabric of matter, energy, consciousness, catalyzing an unprecedented change in the soul's incarnate experience. So what happened 12,000 years ago to better understand what we're coming out from? Well, approximately 12,000 years ago, at the previous erect cross, it was a time of the great floods, where the pole of the Earth in the local space began to tilt away from the galactic plane, away from our source of illuminating light at that end. And at that time, we wind up also beginning that 12,000 year period of temporal darkness, which was separate from the unified galactic awareness. For that duration of time, humanity wound up experiencing a tormenting shear within the masculine and feminine principle without embracing awareness of illuminating plane of the galactic light that quite naturally underlines these two facets of our perceptual world. So now with all the souls having experienced both sides of duality, the whole paradox and the reunification in consciousness begins where the divine feminine and the divine masculine principles reestablish their natural harmony. We can see this being in the age of Aquarius. The symbology of the entity pouring the vase of the dark masculine energy and pouring it into the light feminine energy, creating more of like an alchemist mixture, which signifies the reunification of our energy. And once this mixture takes hold, then harmony will be created. You see, this can only occur now as Earth's pole geometrically reorients itself, or rather tilts back towards the illuminating light of our majestic whirling galaxy due to the Earth's precessional cycle, as the human consciousness winds up reorients itself back into the unified divine of divine love. So this is phenomenal. This phenomenal transition that is basically occurring in this world, then why is the world in such turmoil right now? It looks like we're self-destructing, right? It's because we're at a natural occurrence, a process that is known and called as the healing crisis. So think about this for a moment. When we cleanse the body and supply its required nutrients, we establish a more of a refined biological renaissance. It like a residence that goes within us. This allows of the lesser resistance to basically surface to the conscious awareness. And during that healing process, our organs of weakness becomes acute and begins to throw off lower order of that mental, emotional, and physical patterns that is stored within our cellular makeup before relaxing into a more refined state of vibrational function, which is what I will basically teach or rather explain to my students when I go into teaching them about the aspects of quantum alchemy healing. The emerging mental, emotional, and physical symptoms can make it appear as if something is wrong. We're walking around wondering what is going on with this. Why do we feel so crappy? Why do we feel so sick? It's because we're not aware of this natural phenomenon. We're not aware of what's going on, nor are we aware of this process. The key at this point is to unconditionally feel what is emerging without analyzing or judging. You see, this is a challenge for most of us to face because of our conditioning, we so naturally wind up judging. Yet for people like myself, it was a challenge to me because I so naturally analyzed everything. As humans, we are often taught to suppress this natural healing process, which suppression winds up creating a more chronic degenerative condition. Knowing how to induce and to support a healing crisis allows us to move through it in a harmonious fashion and to arrive at a refined state of health, function, and vitality. So, a healing crisis is also occurring as you're witnessing currently in our world around us. As we make a passage through the Earth's Processional Cross, unfortunately, most people do not know how to embrace and harmoniously move through a healing crisis, which winds up allowing a personal metamorphosis to occur. Instead, many will become lost in this emerging symptoms and project their inner discord outwardly. Yet, the healing process is something that we can also learn and even look forward to. So, with all this, what is happening? What is exactly happening at a soul level? Well, at a soul level, we are beginning to experience the dissolution of separateness and estrangement between the personality, egoistic level of ourself and our divine, undivided soul level selves. So, so does basically our mental, our emotional, and our physical patterning that we have incurred throughout the entire 12,000 year temporal period. It winds up surfacing within our consciousness in a unified and perhaps each of us within that challenge to heal and to clear those patterns that we may have carried for many, many lifetimes. As this shift winds up dislodging and even dissolving the conflicts of consciousness and crystallizing within itself, we are forced through many contortions and paradoxes that often leave us consumed in our own inner turmoil. It's to surface within that turbulence. In this process, some will willingly relinquish the inner conflict of the past surfacing from that cellular memory and to embrace more of a new awareness. The unfortunate factor is that others will become tormentingly lost in the dramatics of that healing crisis, playing out their inner conflicts to the bitter end. And this is what we're embracing in the world, but ultimately the choice is most certainly ours. The easiest way to facilitate this process is to unconditionally accept without judgment all that we experience in our lives and all that we feel surfacing within ourselves moment by moment. It is a process. So things are having to be taken by the present, and a moment-by-moment process. The holistic way of living can facilitate this transition as well, from the types of food that we eat to our environment in which we live. Staying centered and grounded and connected to the earth is essential to harmoniously accelerate with the unprecedented opportunity. By attuning ourselves to the earth's natural uh, renaissance and its cycles, we attune ourselves to our derivative everlasting selves, to that which transcends the surface and the turbulence of our rapidly changing lives. Remember, living in a pure, unadulterated environment free of straining electromagnetic frequencies, attuned to Earth and the lunar rhythms and to other natural astronomical cycles of life, it's essential for our health, our well-being, and our evolutionary fulfillment. That's why many people have that inner feeling that they want to go to more of the countryside, that they want to be among the earth in its natural presence. So people who go into more of synthetic drugs or even environments that constrict of basically non-organic materials and disappropriate that geometric also have a negative effect that suppress our ability to breathe with that unfolding cycle of life and the crystallized patterns that we hold in our cellular makeup. When we are not willing to experience, we feel physical pain, which is indeed an emotion. When we suppress that pain or any other emotion in any variety of way, we wind up pushing ourselves down the scale into pain, anger, fear, anxiety, apathy, unconsciousness, and degenerative death. That's why now that our society is trying to thrust our whole culture into fear, because they're trying to create that suppression and try to keep you from evolving. When we are willing to embrace the emotion and unconditional acceptance, one emotion, we wind up moving up until that underlying pain, that resistance to that past experience that we hold winds up surfacing within us. When we are willing to embrace the pain, the pattern releases, and then the pain dissolves, and the cellular, along with the molecular recoding, winds up occurring. This is what I do, or this is what I had to do. Was it easy? Absolutely not. It was hard. It was painful. It was enduring. But was it worth it? Absolutely. As humans, most of us naturally want to hold on to that pain because it's familiar. We fear not feeling that anymore. We have that tendency to be hoarders of misery. We don't understand nor know what it feels like to not have it anymore. So we fear what we have never experienced before or what we don't understand. We don't understand what true freedom is, to be free from what has weighed us down even before we even knew it was there. And once we do, we wind up experiencing this grand release. We then wonder why we haven't decided to do this long before it was done, because a new us winds up becoming reborn. Once this recoding winds up occurring, we can draw, or rather create, a new experience based on new subtle energy patterns we radiate from our cellular makeup. So I guess the obvious question is, what happens if we don't clear that pattern? Well, if we don't clear that pattern by moving through the entire healing crisis, by getting to that suppressed pain, we continue to draw that experience, reflecting the pattern that we are holding. And once we learn this process of unconditional self, we can live in that moment by moment process. We are integrating that experience from a place of personal empowerment rather than continuing to build a psychic battery of suppressed trauma. Now, at the turn of the millennium, as we are squeezed through this portal into the next phase of the Earth's evolutionary cycle, we commence to radical change. This change would only begin now, as December 21st, 2020, which is the merging of the Saturn and Jupiter, making the Christmas star, which has only occurred 800 years earlier. This is this change that will continue to take form over many years ahead. But now, with the conscious deliberation, a choice must be made to either relinquish a lesser mode of participation willingly or move to a new vibrational modality of experience, or adhere to a ramification of denial and be tilled with the soil in the cataclysmic turning. The Earth's Processional Cross, excuse me, the Earth's Processional Cross provides an opportunity to shift into a unified co-participation as one world, honoring the uniqueness of our diversity beyond the judgment and conflicts of duality, to graduate from our isolated, quarantined Earth experience into a galactic awareness of extraterrestrial majesty. The Earth's Processional Cross is occurring now, and this is an evolutionary transition that is about living in the present. As we are waiting for something to occur that is outside of ourselves, whether it's the future date like Gregorian 2000 AD transition, or when we waited for the Mayan calendar in 2012 predictions, or any event for that matter, like Jesus returning, or even the arrival of extraterrestrials. Our personal metamorphosis happens from the inside, not from the outside, as a physical healing winds up occurring. To invert the externalized mindset by arguing belief structures where we say, when things change outside of myself, then I will change, which I'm sure many of us have heard that from others before, or have said it yourself, or is currently saying it now. You see, to mature into eternal awareness, where we take our personal responsibility for our spiritual growth and our evolutionary experience, it's at this place that we realize that we co-create our reality from the inside out, moment by moment. In this internal awareness, we no longer place blame for our misfortune on others or on events occurring in our lives, nor do we wait on blessings to come to pass for something outside of ourselves to save us. Here we unconditionally embrace our experience. We breathe it, we integrate it, we digest it, we express it. Our creative wisdom gained from our integrated experiences from a place of inner peace, stillness, and love. The step into the now is an opportunity. It's your opportunity. It is an unfoldment, our spiritual awakening, our ascension, the returning of the galactic awareness, the soul level awareness, the unified perception, or whatever one wishes to call it. We are at the 270-degree point in Earth's precessional cycle. This harmonic transition point in our evolutionary cycle, that erect cross that is happening now, it is the turning that creates an inner need to initiate change. We step from the facades and masks we hide behind and look at and reveal our true selves to embrace our commonality, our essence, our primordial spiritual origin. It is the resistance to this relinquishment and need to change that humanity currently fights. Fighting against this natural evolutionary transition is that which creates our current turmoil on Earth. Relinquishment of false barriers, the internalized beliefs which manifest as political, religious, and financial structures that perpetuate separation and subsequent anarchy, and essential for us to make harmonic passage through the evolutionary portal. To assume that this is going to occur in an instant, or that all people will, by some miracle, is a bit naive. This is not only a process, as with everything, but it begins with a personal choice, then a collective choice. This is our time. This is your opportunity. And as you see the things around you and you see the people, your loved ones around you, you start to see that people are going through a healing crisis. And you might even be going through a healing crisis currently. This is a process. You're not sick. You're not ill. It's making you face what you have carried within you many lifetimes on a cellular, molecular level. It's now coming to the surface for you to relinquish it, to not judge it, to not analyze it, but to release it. And once you release this, a new you will be reborn. And what is happening around you, you'll finally understand this process that we're in currently. So you guys have a wonderful day, and thank you for watching my video. And I honor you all, and blessings.